you got jokes, Chad, huh? Oh, I see you got jokes, huh? It's not a doll. It's not a doll. Oh my God. Look, it's an action figure. Look at the way it moves. Look at the way it does Russian dancing. It's the first ever Unity action figure of General Xander. You don't even know how badass he is if you knew how badass he was. Look at the articulation on the head, too. Whoa, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Go check out Unity on Kickstarter, you motherfuckers. Go check it out. And if you back the Kickstarter by next Wednesday, you're automatically entered to win this doll action figure, which I will hand paint for you. It'll be one of one. Go check it out. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're doing well. Nick Cruz, welcome to the Nerd Vengers. You are a Nerd Venger now. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Okay, we got to get into... How much... What? How much support to paint me? I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means. What up, 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 what up? Gonna talk about some Ahsoka tonight. I want to talk about what we've seen in the show so far. I want to talk about where I think all of this is going. I'd love to know what you guys think of the show so far. So that's the main agenda. We might get into, there's just like a couple of Marvel things I wanted to get into. I might save this for the Friday stream. Maybe we just get into the Ahsoka stuff tonight. We'll see. But the big thing, and I don't think we've talked about this yet, chat. You help me out here. Have we talked about the writers getting off, the Rick and Morty writers? Probably fired. Probably not doing Kang Dynasty. And we talked about that at all? Nah? Yeah, well, maybe we should just, let's start there, just briefly. What do you think? Is that a W or is that an L? I mean, I think most of you guys are probably excited about it. W's? Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's like, look, I think Jeff Loveness, who, man, that whole situation was kind of sad and kind of hilarious, just the way it all went down. I think Jeff Loveness, sure. But I like Michael Waldron. And beyond liking Michael Waldron, I really think that he's a good writer and could have actually done some really cool stuff with what they're doing. So we'll see where that takes us. We'll see if they get anybody else. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of changes when we finally get the strikes over. If they ever end, I think there's going to be a lot of change to Marvel, maybe to Star Wars as well. I mean, the movies, I don't think they've been able to really move on any of that either. So whenever this gets finished, man, we might be looking at a lot of changes, you know. So, yeah, we'll see. Okay, getting into Ahsoka, you know, let's start here, guys. I'd like to know where you guys are at with the episode. Maybe we should do a poll on this just to see for sure how y'all are feeling about Ahsoka. Let me get a poll going on, but also, if you want, out of 10, you can give me your score. I'd like to see that as well. How did you feel about Ahsoka Episode 3? And we'll go, loved it, liked it, meh, hated it. Boom. There you go. Would love to see what y'all think. Dang, okay. I see some high scores in the chat. Seems like people like the episode, huh? Would be a 10 out of 10 if she had just thrown a saber at one of those ships while in space. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that would have been sweet. Liked it a lot. Okay, damn. Yeah. A lot of people really like it. I definitely know people that don't like it. I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. Let's see what's going on in the poll. Okay, so I mean that's a very high percentage of people that enjoy the show. Interesting. Interesting to say the least, yeah. So I guess part of the question is like, how well is the show doing? Because it seems like a lot of Star Wars fans, a lot of, let's call them hardcore fans that have watched the animated stuff, seem to really like the show. And I personally really like the show. I think it's a funny relationship I have with the show, because it's like at some level, there are like fundamental aspects of the show that are actually not working for me. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like the Sabine-Ahsoka dynamic. And that's like a big part of the show, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it's just not working for me for whatever reason. Like, there's some scenes that work better than others, but overall, I just don't really find it compelling. I'm like, okay, whatevs. I do also think there are a couple of parts in this last episode, like, and this is what I mean by ironic, because I really do like the show, and I think this is the best episode of the 3, is the 3rd episode. But technically, it has one of the cringiest lines I've ever heard. Like, when Ahsoka says, I don't need Sabine to be a Jedi, I need her to be herself. Like, I was like, ugh, like it was pretty cringy. Also kind of confusing for like what they're doing with the character. It feels a little weird and off, right? So it's weird. I guess the thing is, it's weird because there are obvious things that I don't like in the show, and there are like fundamental like elements that aren't really working for me. And yet, I find myself really enjoying the show, and I think what the show is doing, when it does it well, when it's like really in stride, it's absolutely incredible. It reminds me a lot of the prequels, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of stuff in the prequels that are like, that's like, okay. But then when it gets going and when it gets in stride, you're like, yo, like, I'm all in. You know what I mean? And so, people ask me all the time, do you think the sequel trilogy will get that prequel love, right? Like that 20-year later, oh, everybody loves this shit, we were way too hard on it, etc., etc. Do I think that's going to happen to the sequels? And most of the time I say no. And I think like Ahsoka so far is almost perfectly illustrating why. Because despite some of the things I don't like in the show, it's doing Star Wars stuff, and it's doing it really well. And I feel like the Ahsoka show, like, let's just say the Ahsoka show was, people didn't really like it. And I know a lot of us like it, right? But I think the fact of the matter is that it's not performing the way Disney wanted. And I don't think it's a smash, like, obvious knock out of the park hit right away. If this was a differently crafted show, there's a chance that even some of the people that have been more skeptical or whatever would be a little bit more into it and whatnot, right? I think Ahsoka has a chance to really grow on people because it's doing really good Star Wars, like, really well. It's interesting, man. It's interesting. So I want to get into the actual episode. I'm going to get this pulled up, and we'll go kind of like beat by beat a little bit here, and I'll give you my thoughts of each scene and kind of break it down as we go. But I also briefly want to talk about the numbers. I know some of you guys are like, why are you talking about the numbers? Don't talk about it! I get it. I get it. But I think we got to talk about the numbers. Don't do it! Okay. Let's talk about this shit. So, I said this last night, but let's go over it again. two numbers out there, and I appreciate all the love. I appreciate all the super chats. We'll get into that later on in the stream. Much love, though. Thank you. Couple of different numbers. Samba comes out with numbers Monday at 4 p.m. for Ahsoka. Okay, and they're not good. It's like 1.2 million households. That's what Samba says. That's what Samba says. Now, what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean 1.2. I'll explain what it actually means, but just for the sake of conversation, let's keep it going. So then the next day, Disney drops a number of 14 million. So you got 1.2 million, and then you got 14 million. These are very different numbers. And the question is, which one's real? Which one's bullshit? Is Disney making that up? And they're not exactly making it up, but I do want to point out, I think it's worth pointing out, Disney is they're embroiled in a third lawsuit. A third lawsuit about misleading shareholders to hide Disney Plus streaming losses. Okay? I think that's worth bringing up just because it's like, I think the idea of Disney fudging the numbers, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, that would have been an idea that would have been challenged. Maybe a long time ago, people would have been like, no, like that's crazy. The integrity, blah, 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 blah. Guys, they are in 3 different lawsuits for misleading shareholders. I'm not saying that they're necessarily any more twisted or corrupt or whatever than a lot of other corporations, and like Hollywood accounting has been a thing forever. I get it, but I think it's worth bringing it up. So what are the numbers? Here's the thing. Here's the actual truth of it. Both the 1.2 and the 14 million are both bullshit. They're both bullshit, and they're bullshit in different ways. 1.2 is a number that comes from Samba, who has probably about 20 million households in America that basically it's like having something on your cable box or whatever, or I guess now it's just plugged right into the TV. And Samba's collecting data, like, you know, Google, Apple, the NSA. They're collecting data on what those 20 million Americans are watching. Okay, so they're using a sample size of probably like 20 million. And then that's where they get that 1.2 number. So the 1.2 number was never an actual number. Okay, it's a percentage. It's a reference point. It's a comparative measurement that you can only really compare to other Samba numbers. And according to the Samba numbers, this show is performing, at least so far in the first week, it's performing at the level of Andor. Okay? It's like way behind Mando 3, way behind Kenobi, behind Mando 2, you know, ahead of some of the Marvel shows by a little bit, and basically right on par with Andor. Okay? So what's that's why that number is bullshit. But why is the Disney number bullshit? And what's really going on? The Disney number is bullshit for a couple of different reasons. First of all, it's fucking wild that in the state, like, this was a carefully crafted statement by Disney to sort of have a PR combat, a fight in the public square about the numbers, because basically you got a bunch of haters. And this is reality, but it's also like from their perspective, right? You've got a bunch of haters throwing out the 1.2 number, and that's embarrassing. So now we can give them a $14 million number, and all of the other people will be like, it's 14 million, and you'll get a bunch of people saying 14, and then you get a bunch of people saying 1.2, and then I try to explain the numbers, and everybody's like, no, don't talk about it. In the press release that Disney put out where they talk about the 14 million, they say it was the biggest Disney Plus show over the weekend or something. And you literally have people out there saying it's the biggest Disney Plus show ever. It's not. Like, again, look at what's going on. Like, they're literally saying This is the biggest Disney Plus show on the streaming service over the course of the weekend. So it basically just did better than Bluey and The Simpsons and some of the other shit that actually people watch on Disney Plus. Okay? So what's the 14 million? The 14 million is the minutes watched divided by how many minutes are in both episodes. This is like a Netflix thing. That's something they're trying to do. So essentially, like, think of it like this. If 7 people watched the show for 20 minutes and turned it off, that counts as one view of somebody that watched all of the episodes. Are you following me? Does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody know what's going on? So the real number is like, who fucking knows, dude? What? Like, who fucking knows? But I'll tell you this. The Nielsen numbers will be really interesting when they come out at the end of the month. And the reality is, at least from my perspective, I don't think the show's doing very well. Again, you might not matter. Don't talk about the numbers. Talk about it's all about quality. I don't care. Oh, I get it. I've heard it all. I love the show. But let's face facts. I don't know that this is delivering in the way that Disney wanted. And that's a big issue. I don't think it's the show's fault per se, although I will argue the show could have been crafted in a more front-loaded kind of way. I personally enjoy the story that Dave is telling, and I understand the speed at which he's telling it. But I think you can make an argument that, yeah, they could have front-loaded these babies a little bit more. They could have actually done a lot different. You know what I mean? So, given all that, it's weird to be in a situation where, frankly, the show, I think it's dope, but it's not really performing at the level that I think many of us wanted. And, that's a little bit scary. I don't know. We'll see. What the hell was that? What the hell just happened? Okay. So let's talk about the actual show. And let me just say this, too, before we get into the actual episode, because, again, I like the episode. There's a lot of good stuff to get into with the episode. But I think, and we're going to talk about this after we go over it, I actually think the show has a really good shot at having the numbers tick up, doing some crazy things, because there's footage. We're going to go over it after we talk about the episode. There's all the footage from the trailer. Somebody did this really cool cut where they did all of the clips from the trailers that we have not seen yet. And that's essentially what you're going to get in the 4th episode. And from 5, it is going insane. I actually think it's going to go insane starting next week. I think every single episode from here on out is going to perform much better, be even better than what we've seen, and start to get some people to be like, yo, what the fuck? Actually check that out, right? So there's still a chance that the show ends up being way more successful than Andor, which I think would be great. Holy shit, please, for the love of fucking God. But there's also a world in which it doesn't, and that's going to be a harsh world. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so going into this episode, I mean, the one thing that's just on point with the show that I think even the most haterish of haters would probably have to admit is the music. The music is on point, dude. I really like the music, and I really like this sequence here with her training with Hugh Wong. And again, this is a character I wasn't sure I was going to like at all, but ended up being a really cool character. Yeah, he ended up being really cool, man, and useful. And these things, and seeing how she strikes and everything, that's really, really interesting. Now, I do need to I want to put the captions on here. Because I want to see what does Ahsoka call that training? That's what I want to see. What does she call it? Barely. let's try something else. How about Zatoichi? Okay, this is interesting. Give me 1 second. This is kind of interesting. Yeah, Zatoichi, sword. There's also a samurai named Zatoichi. Japanese. Oh, wait. Fictional character created by a Japanese novelist. Okay, check this out. This is what I thought. He is an inernant, blind swordsman of the late Edo period. Okay. So to me, I actually think there's kind of a little bit of a clue here, and maybe it's obvious or whatnot, but I think this Zatoichi training, and if you look into a little bit of like how that Zatoichi character, because I saw somebody talking about this, the Zatoichi character would be able to like sense and feel where his opponents were and whatnot, and that's exactly what the training is. Basically, guys, I think like what we're going to end up getting here is something similar to Chirrut Inway. From Rogue One, where I don't think Sabine is going to be able to use the Force, although it's possible that she could, I guess, use it in certain circumstances. You know, there's supposed to be a lot of fighting next week, and there is a shot in the trailer, which we'll go over later, but she like has her hand out. Maybe she does some crazy Force stuff or whatever, right? But, I think what we're going to get with Sabine is her at least being able to sense opponents better and sort of use the Force to be aware in combat and probably not actually like utilize the Force. I know this has caused a whole thing in the fandom. I wonder how you guys feel about this and how you see it. George has talked about this before. You know, there's a really cool quote that's being, spread around right now where George talks about this, and he's like, I could use the Force to move this cup, but I haven't been trained on how to do it. And he's like, everybody could do it or whatever, you know? Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. So that's cool. It doesn't seem like many of you have an issue with it. That's cool. I think it's definitely interesting, and I'm interested to see what they actually end up doing with Sabine. It's unfortunate that I'm actually really not loving Sabine in the show so far, you know, which is crazy because I really love the character in Rebels, but I feel like in the show, especially maybe just because of the way they're setting up the tension between her and Ahsoka, I'm like not really loving it. Mariana says I have a big issue with it. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely bold, you know what I mean? Like, and Dave do be doing that bold shit, so not everybody loves all the stuff that he does, but it is interesting. Now, this sequence in and of itself, again, I like it, but I'm just like not sure this is 7 minutes, guys. You know, I put this in my video later, but this entire sequence, we don't get past this training sequence here and get into the title until 7 minutes in. And I'm just like, yo, like in a 34-minute episode, 7 minutes of that training sequence, which arguably like a couple of minutes of it are pretty cool. You know what I mean? But I'm just like, I'm just not sure, you know, like I don't know about that. I'm not really sure. And then we get into this scene here, which, you know, I'm curious as to what you guys thought about this sequence here. It's kind of interesting. I believe this fleet, powerful. The Senate doesn't want it misappropriated. Like, you know, I totally get what's going on here. The one thing I thought was very interesting was the lady essentially says almost the exact same thing that the people said when they were in at Coruscant, right? Where that guy was like, what did he say? He's like, of course, there are Imperials at every level of blah, 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 blah. It almost feels like that's like a boilerplate answer. You know what I mean? So that was kind of interesting, the setup for that. The one thing I didn't love, though, and again, I wonder how you guys feel about it. I could just be being picky here. But when Hera says, "Did you fight in the war, Senator?" And he's like, whatever. I didn't love how she went so far as to say, you just sat back and waited to pick a side. Like, I feel like that's out of pocket. And I also feel like she would know that by saying that, she's actually shutting down the opportunity to get the support and get the whatever that she needs, right? So I was like, I don't really love that scene, to be honest, It just went a little too far. And I get they want to set up Hera as this badass character, but like, dude, we know Hera's a badass character. And this is similar to the problem I have with the Sabine scene from the very first episode, where I feel like it's a little try hard. It's like they're taking the obvious, okay, how do we show people that this is how the character is? And they're like, yeah, but we need to like make sure they know. And it's like push it to the absolute limit to the point where it feels a little inauthentic. It feels a little inorganic. It's like, okay, like, damn, that's pretty crazy. But of course, it was awesome to see Jason. And yeah, man, I mean, it's awesome to see his character. He wants to be a Jedi. He talks about that. That's a fun little thing. I don't know if we'll see him anymore in the show. Like, it's possible that they're coming back. That because we've seen, I'll talk about this after we get out of here. But you can see shots of Hera in the forest in the trailers. So we know Hera's going to be coming to the rescue without the fleet, but she's going on her own. I saw some people speculating maybe she gets Zeb, maybe she's taking Jason, maybe she leaves Jason somewhere else. I'm not really sure, but it would be hella cool if Jason went into the unknown regions and went into this other galaxy and got some Force training with Ezra or, whomever. I think that would be pretty cool. So we then get this sequence here with the two of them talking about the Force. It was interesting, but like... Bro, like again, I'm gonna do the picky thing, okay? I'm gonna be a little bit picky. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna be a little bit picky. There's one part in this scene where I was like, okay? And that's like after Ahsoka moves the cup, right? Let me see if I can find it. She moves the cup, and Sabine has this reaction like she's never seen the fucking Force before. And I'm like, number one, stupid, because she's been around the Force more than most characters in Star Wars. Number two, B, if anything, she should react disgusted. Because she's like flaunting it in front of her and she can't do that shit. So for her to be like, I was like, that's goofy as fuck. Okay, yes. Throw one in the chat if you think I'm being way too picky and you're super angry and triggered by it. Yeah, well, you guys are wrong. Anyway, okay, last nitpicky thing, last thing I'm going to complain about. We go right from that scene where Ahsoka's like, you can move this shit too, to literally her being like, I don't need her to be a Jedi. I need her to be herself. What? Number A, stupid, cringe, horrible, ridiculous, so bad. Why did you say it? Letter 2. The fuck? You were literally just telling her she could move the glass. Bro, what? So I thought that shit was dumb. Okay, anyway. Despite that, at about 15 minutes into the episode, this became one of my favorite things I've seen under Disney. This became truly top shelf, if you know, you know, top shelf Star Wars. Incredible. The fighting sequence, man, on point. Felt like the prequels. Absolutely loved the baddies. Shin Baddie doing her thing. Marak, we actually get to hear him talk a little bit. It was awesome. Love the design. Super fun. Then, like, the scenes with Elsbeth. Man, she's chewing up every scene she is in as well, right? I really thought it was effective, finding the Scion. Interesting stuff. And then did y'all notice the beef between Shin Batty and Elsbeth? See, like, that's great. Like, here's the thing. It feels like a little bit of the stuff that's happening between Sabine and Ahsoka is forced. Whereas this subtle beef between Shin Batty and Morgan is like chef's kiss. It's amazing. And it's like, maybe because it wasn't forced. Maybe because it just kind of happened in the performance. I don't know exactly. But it's like, it feels good. You know what I mean? So, I like it. I like the dynamic with the characters. I like the setup of this technology. I love them shooting it. Huang going down. And then, dude, these shots were great. Like this right here. Hell yeah, man. More of this, dude. More of this. This is good stuff. And then Shin Batty's like, hey, Morgan, congratulations, bitch. You almost got her, you hoe. Don't worry, though. I got this shit. You know what I mean? And I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of rooting for Shin Batty for a second. Okay. So then we get into a little bit of a callback, yeah? To Plo Koon, if I'm not mistaken. Did Master Plo Koon not fight on the outside of a ship when he first recruited Ahsoka? Am I crazy? Am I making that up in my brain parts? The scene was cringe. This one? He did. Dope. Okay, cool. I thought this was terrific, man. I really did. I loved it. Because it's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? And he just went for it, man. He just went for it. And that's what I think Star Wars should be. It should be adventure. It should be going for it. It should be, it reminds me a lot of something that Christopher Nolan said, where he was like, a lot of people don't give Star Wars the credit it deserves for being the cinematic ride that it was. It takes you on a ride. That adventure was real, and it does stuff you've never seen before. You know what I mean? Especially at the time. So, dude, when they go do this kind of stuff, and they got Ahsoka out there flipping around in zero gravity, she's on the wing. Like, that is cool. And then she cuts the ship in half too, man. That was awesome. The only thing I would say is I wish that, because you would imagine those blaster bolts are pretty intense. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of that in like the physics. Like maybe it's like she blocks it, but it like throws her off or something. That would be kind of cool. And then also the fact that she couldn't just get back on the ship. I was like, that's a little weird. Like, come on, man. Like, freaking Leia can Mary Poppins through space, but Ahsoka can't like land back on the wing of the ship. That part I was a little like whatever. But still overall, I was captivated. I was like, damn, that is cool as fuck, bro. Really cool. So then we get in there and we get into the stuff with the Purgles. And like, I thought this was fantastic. This again was so fun, dude. Like the way this was directed, the way this was shot, such fun, man. Like just zipping around and you know, tentacles. Like this right here, this shot was perfect, dude. When they're like, the tentacles were doing like the crazy thing. And they're like coming through. I loved it, man. Loved it. I was like, this is freaking awesome. Like, dude, yes. Like, come on, man. Come on. Ahsoka should have been like, there's always a bigger fish. Sabine be like, what? And then Ahsoka be like, what? And then you just go or whatever. Because it has that same feeling. It's got a vibe to it, you know? I really liked it. So then they basically get out of there. They go to the forest. They land in the forest. The Jedi or the Sith homies are like, yeah, they're in the forest. We end with like a shot of Balin. We find out about the hyperspace ring, the fact that it's going to travel to that other galaxy. So, yeah, pretty cool. And it really took off, man. At that 15-minute mark, I was like, damn, like that really took off. And that's about half the episode. And I'd say the back half of the episode is so good. It is so strong. that I'd give the episodes 8 out of 10. Episode 3 gets a 8 out of 10, despite me having a lot of issues with the beginning of the show. I don't think this show is polished enough. Like, to be completely honest with you guys, I think the show should have been polished just a little bit more. You know? But the vision is so strong, and I think the story that he's telling is so deliberate that I'm, like, still riding with it. And, as I said before, I think we've already seen... What the hell is going on here? Okay, there we go. I think we've already seen pretty much the quote-unquote worst episodes of Ahsoka. So let me get the... Yeah, let's get this pulled up. Let me show you something. What the fuck? Allow me to show you something. Check this out. Okay. This is all the stuff that we have not seen so far, okay? This looks like maybe part of the fleet? Or are those ships that Elsbeth is going to have come that are going to lock in and go into the unknown regions? Ooh. Interesting. This shot we have not seen. This is him walking into the Eye of Sion. This is very likely from the end of the show. Very likely from the end of the show. It's her talking in the... do I have audio on this? Here, let me... Let's get the audio on this. Oh, no. Just Star Wars music audio. Okay. Well, I don't want to get sued, so we're going to turn that shit off, bro. You know what I mean? Okay. So, shots from the trailers that we haven't seen in the show yet. Those ships. Thrawn showing up with the drip. Ahsoka talking in the forest. Approaching Balin. Balin. Ready. Fight time. Bam! I like this too with her using the foot to support here. Because Balin is just so strong. This is going to be a great fight. More Thrawn here. That shot there, right? Is she using the Force? Interesting. Who knows for sure? Love this fight in the Forest, though. I think it's going to be really cool. Bam! More fighting in the forest. Everyone in the Order knew who Anakin Skywalker was. That's going to be really cool. She's going to talk some mad shit there. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate you, brother. Bam! Some cool lightsaber fighting. Her talking to somebody. Okay, that shot's actually important. This is Sabine with the helmet on, wrapping up one of the pilots. Okay? Using those same wrist thingies that... what's that guy's name? The guy, the Mandalorian homie, gives her these during Rebels. You've got Marak doing some spinny saber business. I still think this is Sam. I think we might get it revealed that it is Sam as well. Kind of cool. Fen Rao, thank you. Ahsoka and this guy fighting. Okay, that's an important shot. This appears to be Hera and Chopper and the Ghost coming to the forest. Are they too late or do they get there in time? Not really sure. By the way she's walking and looking, it almost feels like they're all already gone. Hard to say. Ahsoka running through the forest. Hera going to save the day. That's the Ghost. That's the Ghost and Ahsoka ship. So it's possible that they are going to get there in time. And both of them will end up going through the hyperspace ring or something like that. I'm not really sure. Some people, I've even heard some people say maybe they're going to go there via the Purgle, which would be really interesting. But yeah, so it looks like Hera will probably get there, huh? Yeah. More fighting in the forest. And this shit's cool. She's actually cutting down some of the trees. That looks really cool. I'm excited to see that. Very cool. Another big showdown here with Marok and Ahsoka. Bam! More with Balin. So Balin seems kind of final boss here. Yeah, pretty cool. Now, the point in showing you this is that that's everything, guys, from the trailers. And so everything crazy we've heard comes in episode 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I really think some absolutely spectacular shit is coming. I even think next week's episode is going to be pretty cool, to be honest. So, I mean, we're going to get this, and then episode 5, and then 6, 7, 8. And I really think by that time, you're probably going to get a lot more people checking the show out and talking about it, because that, trust me, that episode 5 is going to break the internet. You know what I mean? Like, that is a crazy episode. That is going to be nuts, and it's 50 minutes long. So that's going to be bananas. It's also directed by Dave, yes. So that'll be crazy. So we'll see. You know, that'll probably get a bump on the charts in this, that, second, and the third. The question is, though, how does the show perform overall? If the show, and this is why I think the Nielsen numbers are actually kind of important, because if 5 is good enough, the show will jump pretty significantly, because in the weeks following, Nielsen will track everybody that's watching anything Ahsoka. So that people going back to rewatch, or people trying to catch up, coming into the show late, etc. All of that is going to be added. So, like, that'll show up in the data is basically what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all tracks and how it all goes down. Like I said, I think it's very possible that we're sort of through, the quote-unquote worst episodes, and that the absolute fire stuff is coming. But I also can completely acknowledge, dude, this is not a perfect show. There's a lot of things I don't love about it, if I'm being honest. But I'm still riding with the show, and I'm still really excited to see where it goes, you know? Still really excited. But yeah, I think that's kind of everything I wanted to go over. We can get into the Q&A now and just kind of see what you guys want to talk about. Is there anything else when it comes to Ahsoka that we should break down? Anything else when it comes to Ahsoka that we should discuss, ladies and gentle beings? Maracas Jar Jar? Absolutely. That tracks. That makes perfect sense. You know what we should go over just one more time? Unity! Guys, I got a graphic novel on Kickstarter right now. I don't know if you knew that, but you should know about it, and you should go back to graphic novel, because it's the future of comics. All this stuff, all this media, this corporate-controlled goobly glob, it's usually just not doing it for us. So we need to support independent work. And what's this? It's not a doll. It's not a doll. This is the first official action figure for my comic for Unity. And if you back the Kickstarter by next Wednesday, you get a chance to win this one-of-one action figure. And I'll paint it myself. I'll paint it myself. It's not a doll. Look at it standing next to these figures, too. That's a Marvel Legends Iron Man. And that's a Black Series Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's check it out. Let's see what the Kickstarter... Where's the Kickstarter at right now? How are we doing? Hey, we're doing pretty good. Almost to 34,319 backers. Hell yeah, man. Go check it out. Go support the Unity Kickstarter today. Okay. Let's get into the Q&A. Let's go over the member chats, super chats, all that. I'll hang in the chat as well just to see what's going on. And then we'll call it a day. Gummy says with a $10 holla, hey Josh, how much of your hype going forward for the show do you think has to do with knowing the leaks? I myself am very excited knowing them, but not everyone may feel that way. Yeah, I definitely think a big part of it has to do with that. If I didn't know about the leaks and I was just watching these episodes, I would be kind of nervous, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, real talk, I'd be a little bit nervous, dude. So, yeah, knowing the leaks, I'm like, oh, bro. Like, this, wow. You know what I mean? You kind of see how it's going. Again, Nick Cruz, thanks for joining up, man. John Snow, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers. Tyson H says, loving this show a lot, and I don't think any of the crazy stuff has happened yet. Shouldn't have Leia have been a part of the Senate meeting? Yeah, I think that would have been cool, man. For sure, if Leia was a part of that Senate meeting. And yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I think the fire stuff is on the way. That's what's so wild is, like, it's doing, like, you know, it's hard to say because I feel like the fans are reacting very positively. Like, the people that are still in it are being very positive. Like, I've noticed a lot more positivity on Twitter, a lot more positivity in my streams, etc. But I think the wider audience, not necessarily even of Star Wars fans, is not quite there with the show yet. There's a lot of people that really don't like it. I think there's a lot of people that just don't get it. You know what I mean? And I think I think that'll all be addressed pretty soon. You know what I mean? Vincent says, WBW show Star Wars What If, Marak as Starkiller, Ahsoka if she joined Maul, Ahsoka turns Anakin when he turns into Vader. So much potential. Yeah, that would be really cool. I like the what if stuff, man. That would be cool. Appreciate you. Dose of Dion says, I just saw a tweet by Star Wars official. 14 million views for the first episode. Conflict with Samba, whatever it's called. Thoughts? Yeah, so I already went over this. Both of those numbers are bullshit. The Samba number is only important when you compare it to other Samba numbers. So it's just a data point to compare how the show is doing compared to other shows. And this show is not doing well compared to a lot of other shows. The 14 million number is Disney basically saying like, oh, it's way more than 1.2, which is fair. It probably is. I mean, it definitely is. It's more than 1.2. But I still don't think the show's doing that well. You know what I mean? And I think the Disney numbers are misleading, but so are the Samba numbers. That's the truth of it. JT says, Jason Sendula should be the Padawan, if any. Leave Sabine her guns and paint, please. It's dumb Ahsoka refused to train Grogu for attachment, but not Sabine. Yeah, I keep thinking that, too. I literally keep thinking that. I'm like, wait a minute. She wouldn't train Grogu, but she's going to train Sabine? Does anybody else find that weird? Like, anybody else find that weird? Like, that's weird, bro. Like, what? Okay. Meister420 says, it's a little off-putting when you have problems with amazing content when we finally get it after so much trash. Can't help but feel you're creating problems for the show that aren't really there due to resentment. Yeah, man, look, I'm just going to go ahead and totally disagree with you, brother. Like, I understand being frustrated, upset. I totally get, like, as an example, if I really like a movie like Multiverse of Madness, and a lot of people don't like the movie, like Multiverse of Madness, it's upsetting for me sometimes if I watch a video or if I watch somebody else like crapping all over the movie because I really, really like it. And I get it, and I get that energy. But all I can tell you is like, yeah, no, you're wrong. I like the show. It has issues. Period. I found episode 3 to be a very crisp, clean 9 out of 10. That's great, man. Never Lose Your Nerd says, the episode did its job and left me wanting more. That's true and fair. I yelled, no, when it was over. I would love to see Ezra train Jason one day to be a Jedi. Oh, hell yeah, dude. I'd love to see that, too. I think that could be a really fun character to follow. Toxic Nerd says, Unity! Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for that. Duncan says, Sabine can't use the Force and will be able to let the Force work through her. Yeah, I agree. I think of it as, like I said, the Chirrut Inoue character. That's what I think is going on. Darth Jar Jar B says, just backed Unity. Let's go. it's a doll? It's not a doll. Thank you, though. Brian Stone says, did you see the theory about Marak being zombie Kanan? No, I didn't see that, but that's not a good theory. You know, a lot, like, I guess Paul and Ryan Airy both think it could be Ezra. Guys, that is the worst theory I've ever... I'm not trying to be rude. I really like both those guys, but that is a terrible theory. Are you kidding me? That would be the worst writing I've ever seen. Like, I'll be honest with you. If that is the shit, if that's what they do, I might be out. Like, I literally might be out. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so they're all looking for this dude. And he's just there the whole time? Ahsoka can't sense shit! Like, oh my God. That would be horrible, dude. That would be very bad. JR says they're showing Ezra is a meaningful character. Yeah, I agree with that. Sly Ginger with a 10 spot says the most criticized thing in the episode, at least for me, was when Ahsoka went outside the ship in space. The villain shoot at Ahsoka rather than the ship that's disabled. Thoughts? Love you, man. I think that's kind of why she did it, though. You know what I mean? And I believe, like, I could see that working weirdly. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, hell yeah, logically speaking, you should just shoot for the ship and say, screw that. But that's also a Jedi out on the wing. So you never really know what that could be. And so I could actually see it working. But yeah, I get you. I get you. The Meister says, this show is extremely polished. You nitpick. Oh, brother, I'm just going to have to disagree with you. By the way, it's okay that we see it differently. It's also okay that I'm right and that you're so wrong. This is not a polished show. And I think that's fair. Like, that shouldn't be like an all damning, like, you know, Star Wars fans tend to do this thing. I'm not going to don't worry. I know all the nerd vengers like, here he goes. Like, here he goes. Nope, we're going to keep it nice and chill. But I will just say, Star Wars fans tend to do this thing where it's like they can't have people kind of like the thing. They need you to have this absolute purity test of a thing where you love every single aspect and it was a religious experience for you. Otherwise, you're a hater. By the way, this is actually a psychological kind of phenomenon. You know what I mean? To be honest. But yeah, Star Wars fans definitely do that quite a bit. Yeah. Lee says, hi, bye, sorry, driving home. Hey, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for the 20. You the man. Michael Boland, welcome back to the Nerd Vengers. Chillin says, freaking out. Wait, what? Freaking about Sabine being force sensitive because it would make it less special. Seem to forget this at the height of the Order. There were thousands. Yes, there were thousands of Jedi. I still, though, don't want her to be very force sensitive. Like, I'm okay with her, you know, feeling the force, perhaps being able to use it at some minuscule level. But nah, man, if she starts like just moving shit around, like I don't know, that will be a little irritating to me. You know, I'm just like, I don't know about that. Colonel Useless says, what's up, Josh? Love the content. I was wondering if you would check out my video of Sam Witwer talking in depth about Starkiller as an Inquisitor. You can hit me up with it. I'll try to watch it. I'm putting together another video about Starkiller, so you could like hit me up with it. But I'm not going to watch it right now, brother. But hit me up. I would love to check it out. Dirt Wizard says, that mountain in the background of the unused Thrawn scene on Scion could be Mount Tantus, maybe. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, girl. I like that. That's cool. I like it. Fen Rao gave her the Vam braces. Cool that she kept them. Yes, I agree that is cool. I like it a lot. True Soul Gaming with a $14 holla says, Ahsoka is so lame, Sabine is worse. There's no stakes, and the characters make me feel nothing to what's going on. Guess Luke, Leia are irrelevant in the New Republic, plus that space battle was trash. 4 out of 10. So I'm just true soul gaming, not to like, dog on you or whatever. But guys, some of y'all act like that's what I'm saying. Okay, I gave it twice as high a score. I love the show. I have issues. It's not polished. And some of you guys are acting like I'm true soul gaming. It's crazy. And by the way, he's welcome to have that opinion. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't like it. It's too bad. I wish he did. Monarch said, Unity's going to slap. You have no idea. I appreciate it, but also you have no idea. You want to talk about a religious experience. You want to talk about something polished. Spared no expense. Greek Drummer says, hoping for a Yoda cameo. Unity looks sick. Nerd Adventures for life. Appreciate you, man. I don't know if we'd get a Yoda cameo. That'd be wild, bro. I don't even know if I want it, to be honest with you. But I appreciate you. Meet Normus says, thoughts on Morgan using witchcraft to depower and control Marok. Rook. It's probably Marok. Who I'm believing is Starkiller. He's too powerful to be in this otherwise. Okay, so Starkiller in canon is not going to be Starkiller from the games. I think it's possible he gets a big power boost, maybe even at the end of the show via some of the stuff we learned in the new galaxy. But yeah, he's not going to be as powerful as he was, man. You know? Dirty says, will Hayden be de-aged or will we get young, old Annie? Probably young, old Annie, but I don't think it's going to be as bad. I think it'll be better than it was before, mainly because it's on Mustafar and he's going to be like a little sithed out and all that, so should be cool. If you're right about Ahsoka walking away from Sabine shortly before Mando, too, it makes sense she would refuse Grogu. She just got burned. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That could actually explain it, but it's weird that they haven't, like, drawn that conclusion. You know what I mean? Low Live says, Maruk is Reva for sure. Oh, my God. No! Detoxing for Live says, so, Josh, we know Ahsoka is not going to save Star Wars. We would have seen it by now. Numbers don't lie. Where do we go from here? Is this KK's fault? Thoughts? So, technically speaking, I'm not ready to call it yet. I think the show could save Star Wars. I still believe that. I still think that's possible because I know some of the things that are going to happen in the back half of the show. Now, it's got to do a lot of heavy lifting, and it's got to get some incredible word of mouth. But it seems to be getting pretty good word of mouth. It's kind of hard to say, right? Because the haters are really loud. The people that supported it really loud. It's hard to say. But those numbers will bear out over time, and we'll just see. But I will tell you this, not to get like too doom and gloom, but I'll tell you this. If this kind of Star Wars and what they're going to do in this show can't excite and engage the fan base or get a lot of fans to kind of come back, they need to do some deep soul searching. Like, cancel all the movies. I would cancel every show you have. Like, I honestly think they need to just rethink the whole thing. And the most important thing is you need a turning point. So you need something to happen that fans can point to and be like, oh, well, this thing happened. Therefore, all the baggage I was bringing into it before is slightly different. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the whole getting a new head coach thing, getting a new system, new general manager, whatever. Like, these things are turning points, right? So like I said, I'm not ready to call it. I think the show has a good chance to still actually save Star Wars. Legitimately, I believe that. But if it doesn't, I don't think anything will. Other than some kind of reset. You know, some kind of like, oh, we're doing things way differently. That's what I think. Curran says, hey, Josh, I'm in for Unity and wishing you the best of luck. I was wondering if being involved in the leaks culture takes away from the enjoyment of the shows without being critical. Love your content, man. I mean, I'm sure it would for some people. For me, it doesn't at all. I mean, particularly with Ahsoka, I'm actually enjoying it more because I know where it's going, right? And most of the time, that is the case. You know, I get asked this all the time. And the truth is, like here's how I'll answer that question. All leak or spoiler culture is what already existed in Hollywood and LA with movies since the beginning of time. What I mean is, everybody in LA, even before there was spoiler culture, knew a bunch of shit about these movies. Like, they just did. Like, that's just there. And people would talk about it. And, like, they knew stuff. And there'd be buzz. And there'd be this, that, second, and the third. So all the leaking culture is, in my opinion, is sort of democratizing that, putting it out over the internet, and allowing it to do what it does. Also, when I was in film school, I worked alongside people, and I would see their projects at various states. I'd know a lot about their projects, but at the end of the semester, when we sat down to watch the final projects in the big auditorium with the lights down, it's a totally different experience. What you see in the moment is completely different than what you know from leaks or spoilers. And also, I'll take it one step further. If your movie is so boring or not engaging that I'm actively thinking about the leaks and shit that I know, then you've already failed. You have not created a compelling film. You've not created something that sucks me in and keeps me in the story. If I'm thinking about the leaks, your shit sucks, to be honest. Cooper Seller says, I got a feeling the Purgle aren't ships, but those ships that look like them are modeled after the Purgle. Thoughts? Absolutely could be the case. Absolutely could be the case. I still lean on them being scout ships, but yeah. So would polished be a 10 out of 10 for you? Not hating. Polished would help, but that doesn't necessarily mean 10 out of 10. I think you can have really well polished shows that are still stiff, they're not engaging or whatever. I think ultimately a really engaging show and a show that's operating at a high level is probably doing almost everything right, but it's like how the show does the combination of things that ultimately create that experience. Like, what do you think are some of the best shows of all time, guys? Like, what are the best shows of all time? Breaking Bad, right? Maybe Lost. What are some of the best shows? Game of Thrones, Daredevil. So what is it about those shows that make them so good? The Wire, Fargo, Twin Peaks. Ooh, nice. I like that one. What is it? Sopranos, yeah. Andor. Hey, look, I know people really like Andor. That's cool. Supernatural. So I think it's the combination of different factors that endure you to the characters. Like, you really like the characters. That has to be number one. Because without that, especially in a show, maybe in a movie you can get away with not all the characters being super likable, but in a show you kind of live and breathe by the characters, right? So it's like the characters, and it's the struggles the characters go on, how they relate to each other, how that happens, and a lot of that is created in a lot of various ways. But like when I think back to Breaking Bad, I mean, Breaking Bad was a show that was just so well written. And the arcs the characters go on are so compelling. It's also incredibly well shot. Like there's just, it's a really, really great show. You know what I mean? And I would describe Breaking Bad as polished, one of the most polished shows I've ever seen was probably True Detective season 1. Like True Detective season 1 was like, wow. Sharp. You know what I mean? Sharp. So, yeah, I don't think there is a single Disney Plus show that I would describe as incredibly polished. You know, because even like Mando, I really like Mando. It's not super polished. It's kind of all over the place. It lives and breathes on the adventure. Loki's really good, and Loki's well polished at points, but it kind of lags a little bit here and there. Loki might be the most polished of them, though. You know what I mean? WandaVision is... There are episodes of WandaVision that are incredibly polished, but that finale was not. You know what I mean? So I can't get, like, dude, endings matter. And, like, WandaVision's ending was whack. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that was whack. Invincible's a great example. It's animated, but it's very polished. You know what I mean? You've never watched Breaking Bad? Bro, do yourself a favor. It's one of the greatest television shows of all time. We, rewatched it. Well, for me, it was a rewatch. It was Elisa's first time through. We watched that recently, and, like, bro. Whew. Legion is great, but I wouldn't even necessarily describe that as a super polished show. Some of the episodes are, but even in season 1, it's like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of all over the place. It kind of finds itself, you know? Shows used to get a lot more leeway, too, where they would kind of find themselves, right? It would be like, oh, okay, well, you know, this isn't... And then all of a sudden, it like, boom, it hits its stride, and it's like incredible. Arcane is a polished show. Arcane might be one of the most polished shows I've ever seen. Arcane is great. It operates at a very high level. Very high level. The Boys is a very polished show. I will say that. The production on The Boys is very good. Very good, yeah. Stranger Things is very polished. Especially that last season. Oh my God, bro. Very, very polished, yeah. And I think it's like, it's cool, right? Like, so think about all those shows we just talked about, and then think about Ahsoka. Do you think it's as polished? Do you think it can hang? You know, I don't think so. I like the show, but I don't think it's operating at that level. You know, like, nah. Saj says, Josh is 100% right about Star Wars fans. It's bleeding into Transformers as well. Just because you like something doesn't mean it's 100% flawless or even good. Yeah, I just think it would be cooler if we like didn't have that purity test, because I feel like that's like what do they call it? Like the bigotry of small differences, I think is the phrase for it. And it's just like, that's the world we live in. I get it. Like, people get really hung up on the differences, you know? But at the end of the day, like, we're all here talking about Ahsoka. At some level, we all enjoy it or enjoy it enough to talk about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like that kind of energy is bad. And I feel like it's done some damage in the fandom. Hiron, welcome to the Nerdvengers. You are a Nerdvenger now. How much influence you think KK is having on Dave? That's hard to say. Definitely has influence. Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I will tell you this. In my heart of hearts, I would like to believe that Dave wanted to polish it more. And I bet KK said, nah. Which is a shame, because they spent $250 million on Andor. And it's like, it's polished. Like, I don't like Andor, but it is polished. So, why can't they spend that on Ahsoka? Because there's no way they spent that on Ahsoka. You know what I mean? What did they spend on Ahsoka? I bet it's like 100, 120. I don't know exactly, but yeah, like, that's what I mean is like, bro. Kyle says, love your channel, man. Not minding the time spent on training as her struggle will make any force abilities felt earned to me. Anti-Ray effect. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think the training is cool. It's just, to me, it feels a little redundant because we've already seen her train with Kanan in a very similar way. And I also just think that, like, the way they're crafting those scenes, like, they feel so self-important. And I just don't know if it's hitting the stride that it thinks it is, right? Because those scenes are fine, but they're not these, like, I'm on the edge of my seat, or, like, I'm watching all-time great shit, or, like, I'm watching a Kurosawa movie, or, like, damn, this is really hitting. Like, it's not hitting like that, you know? So I think the show should respect the audience and keep it moving. Des Bryant says, Ahsoka wouldn't train Grogu because he was too powerful. Sabine isn't powerful, so she isn't that dangerous. It's like what Ahsoka said to her in the Mando episode. I actually like that. I feel like that tracks. That could be what it is. Grogu is powerful with the Force and has attachments. Ahsoka is afraid. Sabine is weak with the Force, so Ahsoka less afraid of her turning to the dark side. Yeah, you literally did the same. You did the same shit, man. That's crazy. James R says, Ahsoka said I don't need her to be a Jedi because she isn't a Jedi anymore. Sabine just needs more training. Yeah, well, why not say, like, I don't need her to be a Jedi. I just need her to be better. Or, I just need her to touch the Force or feel the Force. I just need her to open herself up. So many different things you could have said. Instead of, I just need her to be herself. Jesus Christ. Detoxing for Life said, wouldn't you mind leaking what happens in back half of show? Would you mind leaking what happens in the back half of the show? No, bro. I'm going to tell you right now. If you're out there and you know what happens, email me. Hit me up. Hit my line. I want to know it all. I want to know it all yesterday. I don't give a shit. Eric Myers says, your theory stream on what Dave has been cooking has breathed new life into my hopes for Star Wars. Ahsoka feels like OTPT animated Star Wars and Legends. Yeah, so that video should be dropping tomorrow about the big old theory. So you can get it like in a nice succinct thing. And you can also share it out if you think it's really cool. And you're like, yo, watch this. Like if there's a Star Wars fan out there that's like, you know, like the EU or read some of that stuff and that's gone, make them watch the video tomorrow. Like literally a clockwork orange those motherfuckers. Like get them with the eyeballs up, belts across the chest, eye drops in the eye, and force them to watch my video. Yeah. Jacob says, theory, don't believe it, but I have a feeling Ezra is going to be very, very powerful when he shows up because of whatever's in this galaxy. I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, man. You know what? You know what would be wild? What if he came back and he was even more powerful than Anakin? Yo, how mad would theory be if Ezra was more powerful than Anakin? I'll tell you this. If he's even close, I'll make shirts that have Ezra and the greater than symbol and then Anakin. I just like trolling my friends. You know what I mean? Don't you guys like trolling your friends? Do you guys like trolling your friends? You guys know about that? Just like Luke Soka, man. Like, I could make those shirts, and, like, I could see, like, Theory's mind, like, working on it and getting all real upset, man. Yeah. Mariana says, thanks for the 10, by the way. Instead of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, Sabine Jedi, we should have leaned into her Mando heritage, and we could have had a Pascal Sackhoff Morrison unify with Ahsoka, Luke versus Thrawn. That would be cool. I'd be open to that. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of with you on the Force using thing. I don't really want her using the Force, you know what I mean? I don't really want her using the Force, you know? But we'll see how it gets handled. Contact Harvest says, I love the show. Not perfect, but I know what Dave is doing. I agree with that. For haters, I don't care anymore. It's the generic, shallow, NPC stuff. Surface level Star Wars knowledge. There is a lot of that for sure. And if you don't want to pay that shit any mind, don't pay it any mind. You know what I mean? I also do think, though, there's a whole bunch of people that would want to like the show and would want to like Star Wars and that are just so upset with everything that happened that like I see the flaws in the show, and I think if I were in a different mindset and I was just, because like I just get it. Like if you don't like the show, like genuinely, I get it. And I'm not even necessarily trying to sell you on it, other than the fact that I do think it's going to be way crazier, you know? So, yeah, man, I get it. And, you know, don't pay the hate any mind. I also just think that, like, you know, I guess what I'm kind of trying to do is, there doesn't have to be this, like, harsh division. I feel like if we just let that shit go a little bit, and that's, like, the purity stuff, it's a little bit of, like, I can't stand the haters. Like, why can't we just be like, yeah, there's a lot of people that don't like the show. Show has some issues, but I love it. Like why? What's wrong with that? Why is that such a foreign, ridiculous idea or whatever. You know? Hugh says, you liking Ahsoka, Josh? My opinion usually lines up with yours, and I'm liking it a lot. Yeah, I'm liking it, man. I'm enjoying the show. Colonel Useless says, The Boys is woke. Yes, it is. It is a successful woke show. Hey, did you see the video I tagged you in of Sam? I did. At least I think I did. Try to tag me again, actually, because I don't know if I did see that. What's her name on the Twitter? Haunted Autumn says, I need her to be herself. It's perfect. Whatever connection she is able to establish with the Force will help her. But it is the Sabine in the equation that will give them the advantage. One of two. All right, I'll skip to your other one. Ahsoka has seen the damage done by pushing people to be more than they can. This is why Ahsoka is the greatest Jedi, in my opinion. She could recognize the benefits and flaws of her ideology. I would agree with a lot of that, except for the fact that they are clearly taking Ahsoka on an arc. Therefore, she's not the flawless Jedi right now. I mean, I think she's sad, depressed. I think she's holding on to guilt. I think she hasn't arced out yet, and so she's going to go through a change. So, like, I can't even agree that, like, Ahsoka's operating as the wise Jedi Master right now. It's, like, weird to think that she is, given the context of everything that's going on in the show. And I also just think that line is cringe, bro. Like, that is some Care Bear, like, Teletubbies level bullshit. And I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. I don't think you need that in there. But, by the way, there are plenty of those kind of lines in the prequels. And I still like the prequels. But, like, am I going to argue with somebody that says the dialogue in the prequels are bad? No, I'm not. You feel me? Saj says, Ezra already stronger. Wielded Jedi, resisted Palps. Oh, bro, you're right. He did resist Palps. He is stronger than Anakin. Let's get the shirt designs. Let's get the shirt designs. Oh, my God, you're right. Woo! Ezra is the best. Ezra is the best. Anakin panicking? Yeah, could see it in his eyes. Boy is already top 5. Wait, what? Boys is already top 5 best show of all time for me. It's good. I like The Boys. Resisted prime Palpatine manipulation with his parents. I know, right? That's crazy. I miss your super? I don't think I did I? No, I went over that, dude. The polish thing? Yeah. I went over that. I spent a long time going over that, to be honest. Filoni always undermining the OT. I don't agree with that. How do you think he's undermining the OT? That's interesting take. Do you think Dave wants to change how the sabers look? Go back to the OT and prequel look? Maybe. I don't know necessarily. My daughter, Kennedy, says hi. Tell her I said hello there. Your father is awesome. You already know this, of course. But he's a stud. We're happy to have him in our community. Everything he's ever done undermined the PT. Well, that is one of those statements that's so vague it's like meaningless. Get specific, brother. Come on, man. He should buy Ezra doll and then have the best doll collection in the land. First of all, you don't fucking say that. And also, I am going to buy that action figure. I am going to buy that action figure. You freaking buttholes. Jesus Christ. Dude, what is Twitter doing? Why is Twitter the worst now? Elon, why? Why you do this? You should sponsor Theory's videos while the Kickstarter is going. Oh, yeah? Is that what I should do? The Ghost Crew action figures? Yeah. Rebels has 30 people swinging lightsabers in one BBY, and less than a year later, Vader was the last of their religion. Never mind. It's not less than a year. Parker Peters, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about because it's not less than a year. 30 people swinging lightsabers and one BB. You don't even know what you're talking about. Get your facts together. Josh, would you rather interview Dave or Hayden? I'd rather interview Dave, but smoke up with Hayden. That's what it is. For me personally, the show is fine, which is a massive step up from everything else. I still feel like it's a 6 out of 10. I don't know. I think Kenobi broke me. I was always hoping it was going to be more than Tales. Yeah, I get that. Kenobi does be breaking people. Remember, the little kids watch. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Kennedy. Don't swear like Uncle Josh. He's got a potty mouth. He's working on it. Sorry. I like Rebels, by the way. Please don't hate me for not liking all of it. Well, Parker Peters, why don't you go get your facts straight? I'm just playing anyway. Don't take it too personally. Haunted Autumn says, I've joked about this before, but stand up and show shirt front to back. LOL, seriously, though. What shirt is that? Love the blood effect. Much love. Oh, dude, this shirt's dope, bro. It's a Gambit shirt, baby. It's a Gambit shirt, baby. Don't make me do karate on you guys. Don't make me do it. I'll karate you all. Jen says, Star Wars is back, baby. At least that's how I feel. Hear a lot of people saying, and Sabs are Mary Sue's. But at least they got the work for their abilities. I agree with that. And they're also caked up, you know what I mean? Like, at what point are we going to be like, yes, this show probably a little heavy on the female side, but I mean, incredible asses just across the board. I'm sorry, Kennedy. Respectfully. Anyway. Oh boy. Josh, you should talk to Ryan Airy about promoting Unity too. I think he likes covering books as well. I actually did talk to Ryan, and I think he is going to do something. We're all just trying to figure out how to do it. You know what I mean? Who in the universe can Darth Vader beat? Who in the universe? I mean, Vader can pretty much clean and clear everybody, man. It's Darth Vader, bro. You kidding me? Thoughts on Marok's voice? Sounds a lot like Sam Witwer to me. What do you guys think? Meister says, let's agree on the fire asses. See? Common ground. Common ground. And real talk, some of those ladies are a bit on the older side too. So, like, you know they're working hard for that. I don't think there's any BBLs in the show. I think you're talking about, you want to talk about training. That's some training. Josh, you think Kanan was a perfect Jedi? When he died, he is Obi-Wan levels for me, one of my faves. I think the arc that Kanan goes on is incredible, and I think that at the end of his life, he was just as one with the Force and just as powerful, therefore, as almost any Jedi before him. I feel like in his final moments, and especially like after he's blinded and he really like finds himself, but when he knows what he has to do, very powerful. Very powerful. How do you think Thrawn looks? I feel like he's kind of chunky. No, I don't think so. I think he looks good. I want more of it, though. I mean, it's hard to tell from what we've got, you know? Like, it's hard to tell from what we've got. Bro, he got his sight back. So dope. Yeah, that was awesome. I love that scene. Same name on X. It's Colonel Useless channel. Okay, well, hit me up again, bro. Like, tag me with that again because I don't know. I must not have seen it. Thrawn is thin and gaunt. Maybe. I think you are bored out of your mind if you haven't seen Rebels. The show have been pretty stale in the show since they are mostly relying on the prior legacies. That's possible. I definitely acknowledge that as a possibility for sure. For sure. Jen says, dude, if they bring masks back, I'll wear Shin as one. Wait, what? I don't know. What? Am I missing something here? Talk about Shin Baddie? Are you saying what I think you're saying, bro? Are you pulling a veto right now? Dang, bro. I can't even comment on that because of the young Miss Kennedy that we don't, you know what I mean? Let's just keep it moving. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. By the way, one of my favorite parts of the watch party last night was asking how thirsty the chat was. I was like, how thirsty are you guys? Like, out of 10. And, like, the chat went crazy. Like, the engagement spiked. I looked over, and it was just like... I was like, oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Like, y'all kind of doing the most. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think, to sort of close it out, guys, I, as a fan, am happy with where we're at. I'm not, like, over the moon, which I think you could probably tell because, like, I wish the show was, like, kind of undeniably good, like, hater-proof good. And I also do wish it was performing better. But I'm satisfied as a fan. I think the discussions we've been having as a community have been very cool, and the theories and the speculation and all that stuff, and that's what Star Wars needs. I think the show's going to be fire from here on out, and I hope it goes so big, it does so much crazy stuff that, like, people go to check it out. I want the show to succeed. I want Star Wars to succeed, and I want this to be the way we do it. I like what we're getting. So, what do we got? 5 more weeks? 5 more weeks? So we got a lot to see, but yeah. You know the haters, Josh. You see the shallow generic words, lack of knowledge. It's the Andor is best Star Wars ever, folk. Zero soul compared to Ahsoka. I mean, I agree. But I also, again, I think it's like a little bit corny to sort of act like there's nothing wrong with the show and everybody that doesn't like it is a hater. I feel like that's kind of corny, and I feel like if we can't admit certain things about the show, then how are we ever to expect better? How would we even know better if we saw it? It's okay to like a thing, but also acknowledge that it could be better, right? Jacob C. says, do we think we are getting Ezra, Ahsoka, Luke, and Cal on screen together in Dave's Heir to the Empire movie? I do. And I think it's going to be fantastic, man. Fantastic. Haunted Autumn says, can we please recognize how much Shin Hati has pulled in new Star Wars fans? In all seriousness, you have gotten me through dark times in reality and fandom. Thank you for all you do. Much love. Hey, I appreciate it, Haunted Autumn. Yeah, Shin Baddie real bad, man. Shin Baddie real bad. And definitely pulling her weight in the show, I guess is the way I would describe it. All right, everybody. Much love. I appreciate you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the support on Unity. I appreciate it, man. Let's get this book funded. Let's get this book made. And let's have this cool new IP. I think it would be awesome. So thank you for checking that out. Appreciate the support on this video as well. The watch party's everything lately. You guys have been killing it, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Leave. Ah, man. That was a good one. Feel like we're on the razor's edge. A lot of people liking it, a lot of people not. Mixed opinions. That's okay. Just like everything else in this modern age of fandom, one of the best parts is we go through it together. And I love hearing your thoughts. I love talking to you guys about the episodes, getting a real feel for where the community is at. Just remember, Ezra is greater than Anakin. Open up your third eye. Wash out your stinky buttocks. I'll see you in the next one.